everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you might be joining us from in the world today. My name is Meg Alexander. I am, as always, honored and excited to get to host another Power to Fly virtual event. Now, a quick visual descriptor for anyone who might need it. Like I said, my name is Meg Alexander. I am a 37-year-old white woman. I have pink glasses, pink and purple hair up in a bun, and a black t-shirt that I'm wearing. Now, as we go through, I would really like to encourage all of you and welcome all of you to today's event and say thank you so much for joining us. Now, as we go through today's event, I'll give you some kind of quick updates and some more information as we go. But as we go to the next slide, I want to tell y'all a little bit about Qualtrics, the company who our speakers are going to be representing today. Now, Qualtrics is an American experience management company. They have their headquarters in Seattle, and the company was founded in 2002 by Scott Smith, Ryan Smith, Jared Smith, and Stuart Orjo. Now, Qualtrics offers a cloud-based subscription software platform for experience management, which it launched in 2017. But honestly, if you want to know more about this company or something that means something, I'm going to steer you to this quote from Zig Serafin, who's their CEO. Zig says, we see DEI as a business priority at the same level as any other business health metric. It is also just the right thing to do. If you don't have DEI, you essentially have a broken human experience. And this is a sentiment that absolutely rings true with me as well. Now, I do want to highlight here, if anything that we say today really sparks your interest in Qualtrics or you're at all curious, I really recommend that you check out their company page. The link will be below this video. And what you're looking at right now is what their company page looks like on powertofly.com. Now, there's some great things about this page and some cool stuff that it can do for you. We'll explain a little bit more about that at the end of today's event. But the big thing that you should know is you can come to this page. You can find great information about Qualtrics. In the overview tab is a good place for that. The events tab will show you past events that they have participated on, as well as if they have upcoming events scheduled, you can sign up for events there. And then there's always the real meat and potatoes, which is the jobs tab on each company page. You can search and apply to roles right from powertofly.com. The one thing I do encourage you is if you apply via powertofly.com and you are instructed to continue your application off-site or move to an applicant tracking service of some type, just make sure that you are fully submitting your application. You're following all of the processes so it's not incomplete. Now, the other thing I want to highlight, and we'll go into more detail later on, is the follow network. So that's this big pink button that says follow at the top of the slide. We'll go into more detail, but basically it makes sure that you stay on Qualtrics's radar and they stay on yours. If you have any questions about what that might mean for your job search or how we can kind of make it easier, stick around for the end of the video and I'll tell you more about it then. All right, I'm very excited to welcome our next presenter up to the stage. Her name is Anna Ceballos. I'm sure I butchered that. I'm sorry, Anna. I know we tried very hard to get the pronunciation accurate. Now, Anna is a technology consultant at Qualtrics and lives in Dublin. Now, she has a rich background that includes roles as a product specialist and a marketing analyst within the energy sector. Anna holds an engineering degree from Universidad de Sevilla and a master's in business analytics and big data from IE Business School. Now, as she is originally from Spain, Anna has seamlessly blended her technical expertise with her passion for analytics to drive impactful business solutions. Now, in her leisure time, she enjoys golf, Pilates, and delving into the latest reads, reflecting her zest for continuous learning and professional development. Anna, is there anything else you would like to share with our audience today?
I think you said everything really well, but yes, I can confirm that I changed sunny Spain for rainy Ireland, but it's very green and it's very beautiful.
I like that. Thank you. It says that you like to read. What's been the latest book that you've really liked?
I've had like a lot of like ups and downs with reading lately, but I started reading again. Like I don't know if it's a good book or not, but so far it's interesting, like A Court of Roses and Thorns or something. I didn't like the first book and then I powered through it and I started reading the second one and I bought it yesterday and I am in the page 200 today. So
oh my gosh. I wish you had said this before we started recording. I would have talked about nothing else. Okay, stick around after the recording's done. I got to talk to you because yes. I've been obsessed with these books for like 12 years.
oh
I can't
wow.
tell you how happy it makes me that like other people are now reading them because they're fabulous. All right. Okay. We're going to go back to professional stuff.
Okay.
Thank you, Anna. I love this. Okay. Now, joining Anna up on stage, we have her coworker, Doireann Hanley. Now, Doireann is a technology consultant as well, whose professional journey started at Deloitte, where she cultivated her skills as a software developer for 2 years. Now, she's currently working as a technology consultant with Qualtrics, where she focuses on implementation of complex customer experience programs. Now, Doireann studied computer science, linguistics, and French at Trinity College Dublin. And outside the office, she enjoys staying active through Pilates and running and relaxes by enjoying dog videos on TikTok. Doireann, is there anything else you would like our audience to know about you?
No, I think the dog videos on TikTok pretty much hit the nail on the head, but I'm also trying to get back into reading, and Anna has been talking about this book in the office all day, so I'm definitely going to add it to my list.
You absolutely should, and listen to her when she says power through the first one because the second one is where it gets good.
Okay, okay.
That's
I'm
when you start
excited.
to get it. Oh, yeah, for sure. All right, now I'm going to stop sharing my screen so that way we can kind of focus in on our fabulous presenters here. So let me bring y'all up on stage. Apologies for the dog barking. Now I want to start us off here with a little bit about your backgrounds and kind of like how you got led into where you are in Qualtrics or where you are in the industry. Let's see, Doireann, would you like to start us off?
Yeah, absolutely. I guess so. My background in university was kind of a bit of a mixed bag of everything where I couldn't quite settle on maybe one specific topic. So, as you kind of highlighted earlier, I did computer science, linguistics, and French. And I did kind of, particularly through my time in Deloitte, I guess, flirt with the idea of being a software engineer or developer and that being my main, I guess, focus. But because I've kind of always wanted to dip my toe in a lot of different areas, particularly of tech. Um, I saw the opportunity at Qualtrics, and I guess the role seemed to be really a jack of all trades. You know, it's quite technical, but also there's a lot of people management, which I really enjoy. There's a large opportunity to, I guess, mix with different cultures. Like a lot of our customers are based kind of around EMEA, but also in North America as well. And then as well, I think what really drew me to Qualtrics was there was a clear, I guess, diversity amongst the team, particularly obviously culturally, as I said, getting to interact both with our customers that are from different countries around the world, but also, the employees travel to Dublin to work for Qualtrics. So as Anna said, she moved from lovely sunny Spain to work in rainy Dublin, and I've got the privilege to work with a lot of people from a lot of different backgrounds and cultures, and so that's been really great. So it's kind of been a mixture of the desire to have maybe both professionally but also personally interacting with different cultures and tasks and everything like that.
That's really wonderful, and great kind of lead up into how you found your home at Qualtrics. Anna, how about you? What has your journey been like? What led you to where you are currently?
So I actually applied to Qualtrics at the beginning of COVID. I just finished my master's. COVID hit, so I wasn't really sure where to go in that sense because nowhere was like the applications were closed everywhere. No new positions were opening. Nothing really interesting. So just one random day, I was like scrolling through LinkedIn and I found this position that as a product specialist. But it was okay. It was like a support position. But what really drew me was there's a section in the Qualtrics page that is like Qualtrics Live, and they tell you like the life on the employees and everything. So like by reading the stories of the other people that were in my future team, I really thought that it could be like a place where like I could fit and it could be like nice as a tech company to get experience starting here first. So I applied to Qualtrics, finally got the position as a product specialist, originally remote. And then I moved to the consulting team after a year, getting experience with Qualtrics, all the parts of the platform. And with the new position also came the move to Dublin. So yeah, that's basically how I end up here and sitting next to Deering in the office.
Awesome. Excellent. I love that. All right. So let's go to one of the first questions that I think kind of helps define a lot of what we're going to talk about today. How do you define allyship, especially when it comes to supporting women in tech? Anna, would you like to start us?
Yeah, sure. Um, allyship, I think it reflects a lot on leading by example. I think it's very important that like Qualtrics as a company and like the leadership, if you want to be really allies, you have to show that you mean everything that you are doing or like what that you are saying, sorry, by actually doing them. So I think allyship is very focused on if you're going to say something, actually do it. If you're going to support a group of people, in this case women or any other group that can be underrepresented, show everyone that you're actually on their side and that you're actually going to help them get through everything, support them, elevate them, and make sure that they are empowered to believe that they can do everything that they want.
I like that. So it's not just about the words and, trying to like, make sure that people understand what the program is, but it's also their actions, right? It's that leading by example. It's the modeling the behavior you want to see from others.
Exactly.
Doireann, would you add anything else to this definition? What are we talking about for you when we're talking about allyship?
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely echo everything that Anna said, but I would kind of like highlight as well, like being an active advocate for, in this case, like women, and I guess including them and advancing them in their roles in technology. And then I guess one thing about allyship that I think personally is really important is that we all probably need to maybe check ourselves in terms of where our own privilege is. So I think acknowledging that maybe some allies have the ability, the voice to kind of, I guess, amplify women sharing their experiences in this case, and be able to reach those audiences and kind of spread awareness and educate everyone about what they, I guess, believe.
I like that. It also kind of highlights the point that, everyone can be an ally to some group. And just because you either are part of a specific, a specific affinity group or a specific demographic doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be a good ally to anybody else, right? So it's about how you model this, and it's about not kind of resting on your laurels of like, oh yeah, I was great with that group, totally helping them out. It doesn't give you license to like ignore other problems or anything like that. So yeah, I very much like this definition. Okay. Um, what do you think allyship does to help break down barriers and create opportunities for people who are underrepresented or historically marginalized? Doireann, how do you feel on this?
I think what I feel is that, I guess, allyship for me really builds a safe space. It's where people kind of don't question if they have the ability to go forward for a promotion or anything like that. They just feel that's not a factor. So it's basically building a safe space. Again, maybe seeing that accountability is in place, that when people are I guess advocating for diversity, that there is action. So you're not feeling like you're kind of shouting in an echoless chamber or anything. People are acting on it. Um, Again, ideally with this allyship, it's just not seeing any boundaries at all. You're kind of a little bit not invincible, but you can see that progress can be made.
Yeah, and it's kind of being about willing to be the like kind of shield out front, right? If someone's not really listening to a voice from someone who is historically marginalized, underrepresented, excluded, whatever, you kind of you get to use that social capital or that credit that you have and help benefit other people behind you that might not ever get the chance to speak. Anna, do you agree with this? Like, what barriers do you think that it breaks down when the acts of allies and when allyship is actually performed like it should be?
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think like by allyship or like groups of people that can be your ally to put you forward for something, I think it's really important that if you can't speak up for yourself or like if they can't hear you, that they at least help you get to where you want or like make your message here. So sometimes they can be like if you want to speak out to a room, there might be a lot of noise. So maybe you need a louder voice at some point that helps you echo what you're saying. And obviously it's not, the focus should not be on them, should be on you, but it can help you get to the point where you are the focus of the conversation and that you can talk about your ideas and that you can say what you actually want without their help, but maybe you need a help, like a hand to help get you there.
Yes, I love this focus because you're right. Allyship is important, but it's not centering yourself as allyship. That's not the point. It's using your voice to allow someone else's to be heard. Or I love what you had said about, kind of opening up those rooms, because that's the other part of allyship, right? Is making the message heard when those other people are not in the room. Like making sure that in rooms that they have already been excluded from, it's not that, oh, well, that's not within the room, so we don't have to worry about it. Like being the person to continually bring up the issues or the needs of, whatever group needs them.
Exactly, because in a lot of leadership rooms, there might be representatives for everyone. So you need someone that can speak for you. So if you are not going to be there, at least have someone that you trust that is going to be able to speak about your needs. Like even like if you're starting as a company, like obviously you're not gonna get a seat on the big table. But like if you have a good manager, if you have like a good representative in your community within the company that can get your message heard, that's what you want.
Yeah, of course. All right. So we talked about how we want to see leadership promoting and modeling allyship behaviors. Have you seen this done in the past? Could you give us an example of ways that you've seen this behavior promoted or modeled at Qualtrics? Doireann, would you like to start?
Yeah, absolutely. One thing that kind of comes to mind, and I think myself and Anna were just talking about this earlier, where we actually get a DEI report kind of sent, I guess, like mid-year, where we can kind of look at the progress. So it's kind of really valuable to see that tangible data with, I guess, improvements. And again, women obviously is a focus of this conversation, but we get metrics kind of from across all the different kind of groups, which I think is really useful. I personally really appreciate transparency. I for one maybe don't mind things not being perfect, but I really don't like when people kind of try and sweep it under the rug. Like if there's improvements to be made, I'm happy to kind of work towards them. I don't like to pretend that everything's kind of all good, but yeah, that's one thing that I really appreciate. I think even like outside of like a global Qualtrics level, but even just like on an individual team level with people that we interact daily, it's never been a taboo topic. DEI has always been kind of at the forefront of like team meetings. Like this is the first kind of job I've ever had where someone's actively like engaged in conversation over it. Like I think Anna will probably highlight it as well, that like when we went to our first team meeting, we might have all the business talk, right? But then at the end, there's always time for like someone to present on a topic to do with specifically DEI that they have of interest in, is if that's with people with disabilities, if it's kind of understanding other cultures. And that's something that I think, although it's great to see like the leaders globally, but even people on the ground kind of really prioritizing this, it has been super impactful. And again, it doesn't beg the question of if people are allies. It's just kind of implied because everyone kind of wants to take the time to better their education in this space.
Yeah, of course. And plus, like, there's a lot of allyship behaviors that are not any different than what you just do in a daily, like in your job, as long as we're all like being decent people. So yes, I completely agree with this. Anna, how do you feel about this? Have you seen this done well in the past? Have you seen it done not well? What's your
Yeah,
experience?
in Qualtrics, like I was really surprised actually because as Doireann was saying, like I came from a team where everyone was from other countries. Like we needed languages to be able to work in that team because you're interacting with customers from all over the world. So in that sense, we were like a lot of different countries were representing different cultures. But then when I moved to the consulting team, the professional services team, it was different because most of the people were from Ireland and they're like less. There was only other person that was not from Ireland besides me. But in my first meeting, I get there and one of the items from the agenda is like DEI, and I was like, I didn't know what that meant in English. So when I saw it, I was very interested because someone had a presentation. I think it was like fast fashion and how that was affecting like other countries and everything. So it was like a really like eye-opening to see that a team actually care from like other things that were not even happening around us, but like were all over the world. And from there onwards, every time we've had a team meeting, basically we've had like different DI topics, like in different like maybe cognitive situations like ADHD and like having people from different languages on your team, like financial risks and different topics around like around DEI. And I think it was very like nice to see, and it's also very educating to see that people actually were able to sit down, make a presentation from maybe like an hour to give us like a talk of 15 minutes, so we can all get more educated on other topics that are not only what we see every day, and that we can leave every team meeting not only knowing more about the business and our colleagues, but something that happens around us.
That is really, really cool to hear, and very awesome that it's like you said, and like we've talked about a couple times already. Having employees that believe in this and then want to see it happen is really important, but being able to see that behavior modeled from the top down is massive. You are really setting the tone and setting the standard. And I think you're right. We certain places might feel like maybe this isn't as much of an issue for them. Maybe some of the social justice issues, racial justice issues haven't really hit close to home for them. If that's the case, I'm very glad for you. But it is one of those things that it affects the entire world. And just because you don't think that it affects your bubble or your fishbowl does not mean that that's actually the case. So I think it's really wonderful to see companies making a priority of this, and not just in places where there was a lot of protest, there was a lot of unrest, there was a lot of feelings going on, various parts of America for sure. So it is really nice to hear about this. All right, let's talk a little bit, let's kind of move on and talk about supporting women in the workplace. Now, obviously, we know that hiring more women is important, but retaining them is equally important because you don't want to have that revolving door. In your opinion, what do you think are some policies that orgs could put in place to make sure that they're retaining women once they're hired? Anna, would you like to start us?
Yeah, I think like in terms of policy, I'm not 100% sure what a company can do that is going to encourage women, because we're talking about this before, like we were like the first thing that came to mind was like maternity leave, but like obviously maternity leave is nice, but you it's like you have to think a little bit also on like, how do I say this? If you obviously maternity leave is very nice to have, and it's very important for like you making sure that you can have like a healthy family, if you want to have that, or like if you are going to have the opportunities to come back to work after and have a job after. But I think the most important thing is like a company can assure you that even though you're gonna go on maternity leave for however long you're going to, that your position is going to stay the same, your progress in that position is gonna stay the same, that you're not gonna go backwards, maybe lose a level or start from the beginning if you're working towards a promotion. That having like going outside from the workforce for a little bit is not gonna hinder your progress in your career, because one doesn't have to unbalance the other from for you. Like you don't have to choose both. You can have both at the same time. So I think making sure that you're guaranteeing your female employees that want to have a family, that when they come back, they're going to be where they left, that they can be progressing, that they can be growing, even though they have a family now. It's very important.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. In the time that I've spent, learning about this in the last 5 years from doing this job, that is one of the things that I see a lot, is that there is a very big difference between having a maternity leave policy or paternity leave or whatever, and then having a reentry program for that, right? Like they're two completely different things, and most companies have the first one, but not a ton, at least not yet, have like the second one kind of locked in or tied in with that. So yeah, I completely agree with you. Doireann, how do you feel about this? Do you think that there are policies that would specifically make it easier or make things less arduous on women in the work world?
I think like probably it would benefit both women and I guess most people in general, but just having the flexibility. Like I think, and the trust that you will do your job, but there are some things in life that kind of take priority at some point. So sometimes work gets a little bit deprioritized, and maybe not policy specific, but always kind of approaching something with empathy, that people are all tackling their own issues going forward. I don't know if it's policy specific, but I think if like obviously as a woman in tech, what would really keep me in a company is seeing equal opportunities. So if I'm kind of putting in the hours, putting in the work, just making sure that it's kind of done on a merit basis versus maybe you're not necessarily being marginalized for other reasons. And also having the representation there in the company, like that is probably the major thing for me. I want to see that there is someone that I can kind of see as myself that's up in a leadership position specifically. Sometimes in the past it's been a little bit discouraging if I've been looking down a career path or profession, and my particularly it could be even personality type isn't even like I'm not a big like business like like profit boom 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 kind of person, but just seeing like people that are in leadership positions that are like obviously females great but like empathetic, um yeah, that's probably it.
Well, I love your focus on, the kinds of things that you want to see, because they're not gendered, right? Like these are things that would benefit everyone, not just women. We talk about, everybody wants to talk about maternity leave or paternity leave issues, which is absolutely completely valid. But I feel like it very often gets thrown back on, well, this is what the women need or what the women want or whatever. It's like, no, 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 no. It's what we all deserve. And also everybody should have this. Just because we're the ones speaking up and we're the ones with the parts that are going to make the baby, doesn't mean we're the only person or the only people that this matters to. And that's part of why I've loved seeing so many companies move from maternity leave into paternity leave. So that way it's not gendered, it's not centered on, birth givers versus not. Like, I very much appreciate this. Have you ever seen any policies that made you think like, wow, not one single woman was in the room when they wrote that? I've seen a
Kind
couple over my time, but I asked this hoping your answer is no, but
I feel like the things I can't remember right now, but I feel like I have at some point. Like I feel like not in Qualtrics specifically, but I think I either read it somewhere or like saw it on one of my previous companies that it was like I looked at it and I was like, I can't believe this happened. But I
yeah.
can't, I'm trying to think about it, but I remember being like completely baffled by it. It's a good thing that I don't remember it like anymore.
Yeah. I've seen it with dress codes sometimes. I Granted it was a one-time situation and that manager was a nightmare. But like bathroom break rules were absolutely wild. Truly, truly. I thought I was in like second grade again. It was bonkers. But I remember just being like, I'm not asking permission to go to the bathroom. I'm an adult and I am on my period. So I'm gonna be going multiple times a day, and that will be fine because I'm an adult. And just thinking like, oh, right, great. I do not want to stay here any longer than I need to, because this is not a great situation for me to be in, which, I am not the first person to say that, and I will not be the last. So yeah. Okay. I don't know about y'all, but I am curious to see what it is about, like, what in your background got you into STEM. There's a huge move, not just America, but all over, to encourage more women and girls to be interested in STEM or STEAM, science, technology. What is it? Science, technology, art, and mathematics, I believe. I think so. So what do you think we could do to encourage more women and girls to be involved or be interested in STEM from an early age? Doireann, would you like to answer?
Yeah, actually, I think and again it probably touches on the retaining women point in terms of representation. Like I think we were talking yeah, it's obvious me and Anna sit beside each other next, so we were talking about this earlier, but it was a case of anytime you kind of look at TV shows, particularly it's I think it's getting better now, but like in our role specifically, even when I was a software engineer or a software developer, anyone I saw on like any kind of media was a real kind of specific type. They were like quite secluded, primarily male, very much like had interests in very stereotypically nerdy things, which is great. But also when you want to like see if you fit that mold, sometimes like I like my clothes. I like a lot of different things that aren't typical to like software developers that um that kind of affected me a little bit. Like that made me think that maybe I wasn't a good fit when in reality none of that stuff has anything to do with the day-to-day job. But I've been lucky enough where, you know, my family particularly have been great. They like my mom's like a chemistry teacher, and they like I have a lot of family members like that would be in the STEM field that wouldn't typically fit that mold. So although I had some people that were in media that I thought, I don't know if I would fit there, I was lucky enough that in my personal life I kind of got exposure to that. But I totally empathize with those that maybe their whole way of trying to navigate the world is just like looking in pop culture, and if they don't fit the mold, then I would hate to think that there's someone out there that doesn't pursue something because they generally don't think that it would fit based on nothing other than representation or stereotypes.
Well, yeah, it's that like we don't want to include more ways or more reasons for people to self-select out, right? Because that's what it comes down to is you saying like, I don't know that I'm going to be safe there. I don't know that I'm going to be welcomed, let alone like encouraged to come into that space. And it is very hard to do what you have never seen be done. And you're right. I mean, there's a lot of those stereotypes that they become stereotypes because there is a bit of truth in them, or at least to begin with. But you're right. Like a lot of what people think is possible is based on what they see, and what is shown in the media very often does not reflect real life. Anna, how do you feel about this? Do you think that there's anything that would have gotten you into STEM earlier, or would be interesting and encouraging to get people into STEM now?
As Doireann, I was also very lucky in that sense because my mom is also an engineer. So I had my mom and my dad, both of them being engineers. Like I grew up knowing the stories of university, but I also grew up looking at my mom graduation pictures, and there were 70 people in the graduation picture, and only 5 of them were women. So from the beginning, I knew that was like it was an option, obviously, because I had it at home, but I also knew that was a difficult option. I think, I don't know, like, I think, again, representation is what lets you there the most, because if you find a person that you can mirror yourself, like that you can see yourself when you're young, and you see someone, maybe you are a person that is very techy but at the same time really likes clothes and really likes makeup. Like I feel like in the media that is nowhere to be seen, or like it's very difficult to see. And when you're growing up, like you try to do what your friends do, you try to like accommodate to like the bigger group. So you need to like representation in the media, in the newspapers, in the like close to you, having that possibility of like having maybe like a mentorship program that comes to your school and shows you that there are more options for you, rather than just like maybe traditional female careers, like more in this case more like medicine wise, and that is growing very strongly. But more which if you want to be like a developer, software, or something like that, you need to like, if you can see yourself in someone, it's always like a great way to see that I don't have to conform to what I have around me. I can always go a step further and like change things, you know.
Yeah, of course. I mean, honestly, the thing that comes to mind, at least pop culture reference wise for me, was, I don't know if y'all had CSI in Dublin, but it was very, very popular over here. And there was one like instance of it that there was a character named Abby who was a tech, and she was super goth, like dyed black hair, big chunky monster boots, the jewelry, all of the things, right? And that was not a thing like that you just saw around, at least the Midwest in that time frame. And even just seeing someone looking like that in any other context than what normally it's showed to you, right? Like at a concert, or like in a club, or in an urban setting, or whatever, like seeing seeing somebody there who was so seemingly out of context, but absolutely knew their stuff, knew what they were doing, knew they were great at it. And it didn't matter what everybody else was going to say about how they didn't fit the mold. Right. And for me, that was a huge moment of, okay, you don't fit the mold, but you are filling gaps that they didn't even see in that room. They didn't even realize the kinds of people that they were not representing, or the kinds of stories or needs or whatever. And that's literally one example. And it's still a white woman on television. So it's not that groundbreaking, y'all, but still, like, it was a big deal. And so I think it's really important that we talk about these kinds of things and seeing it modeled, because it's not even just enough to see it modeled, right? There are plenty of women that get into STEM fields, and for one reason or another, might have had to conform to the group, right? Like either bone up on some of their comic book, comic book knowledge or whatever, or, kind of play down interest in, I don't know, supposedly like girly things or things that weren't shared by the rest of the group. And now we're seeing that that's not the case. Like there's astronauts that go into space in full glam makeup. That is amazing and absolutely needs to be shown. So I very much love this. I think this is an awesome, awesome like train to kind of go down here. Over the course of your working life, how have you seen diversity in the workplace and those conversations around it change? Anna, do you want to start us?
Yeah, so actually my first internship was in, I don't know if this is correct, but it's the water supply company from my city. So the one that manages like the whole water network. I was working in a building with like 200 people and might be like 10 people, like 10 women in total. But I was very like, at the beginning was very self-conscious because I got there with my blazers, like my blazer, my nice pants, whatever. And the first thing that my manager did was like, he gave me working clothes. And he was like, working clothes are like clothes that are made to take on the streets when you're going to be working, so like reflective clothes, hard clothes, security boots, and all of that. And obviously first they didn't have women, so I had to my jacket was an S, but it still was like 2 sizes bigger than I was. And he was like, look, I'm very sorry about this, but like we don't have enough women to be able to request women specific clothes. So my pants were big on me, my jackets were big on me, my boots were fine. But he was very, very nice to me because he always was like, look, you're going to be going to a construction site to be supervising the whatever construction was happening, just to see. That wasn't my job, but it was more to see and learn and see what other aspects of the job there were. And I was always the only girl, and I was 22 at the time, so surrounded by 50-year-old men, all like smoking and like screaming and like and whatever. And he was like, look, you're an engineer, you're gonna be surrounded in this situation a lot, so just better learn to not to like it, but to survive here, because that's what you're gonna get in for the next 6 months. So he was incredibly nice to me, and one of the things that he told me was like, I know you're a girl and I know you like your blazers, so never give them up. Even if you go to a construction site, just have your working clothes in your trunk of your car. Change whatever you want, but like if you want to look feminine in your high heels, in your blazers or your makeup, always do it. And just make sure that you always are prepared for the other thing that is going to happen in a construction site, that is get dirty. So show them that you can do both. Show them that you can do dirty and that you can do clean and nice. So that was like, he was very, very nice in that sense. And he really liked having like interns that were coming from like university engineers and everything. He was like, I've had so many guys around me all the time, and it's really nice to see that my interns before in the past few years were usually guys, and now I'm starting to see more like girls coming in from STEM careers, because we were like either industrial engineers or chemistry engineers, like whatever we were. But we're sorry, he always told me like, in the past, my past 2 interns weren't girls, but these were, and my next intern is gonna be a girl. But before, I never had a girl before for my internship. So he was very, very happy to be able to show me around. And he was like always like, if I had a question, if I wanted to go somewhere, and he was always happy to take me there and like show me the whatever I wanted to see, because he was like, I want to show you that you can do these things, and that even though you're gonna be surrounded by guys, you can do this.
I love that so much. Like,
Oh, he was great.
oh my God, like that hits me hard. I worked in manufacturing like 6 jobs before this, and had a really weird bridge of like, I was the purchasing manager for the entire company, but also like a lot of what I did ended up being like in the factory, right? Like in the warehouses, moving stuff around, like jumping from like, tram to tram. It was massive, right? And I can't tell you how much it would have meant for me, would have meant to me to hear somebody say, yeah, it's totally fine if you need to come to meetings, like, if you want to come to meetings dressed up, whatever. Because I honestly was put in the position of, okay, I'm gonna have to survive this, so I need to be dressed like them, which then got me continuously then like not recognized as the purchasing manager for the entire thing. Like walked into into a meeting and somebody asked me to go get coffee. So I can't, like, that's so wonderful that he's not only preparing you with the things that you need to go out there and apologizing for the fact that it's not the stuff he would send with you, but
Yeah.
also like don't stop this just because you have to be prepared to be on a safety site. Like, do both. Oh my God, I love that so much.
No,
So
he
I
was
want to send that man
very
an
helpful.
edible arrangement right now. Um,
He
Doireann,
was
what about
very.
you? Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Anna.
No, I was sorry to say yes, he was really helpful, and like in terms of allyship, he was a great one.
I love that. All right, Doireann, how about you? What have you seen change in the workplace around, the conversations around diversity from when you started to now?
Yeah, I mean, I'm conscious that my career so far has been rather short, but definitely I've probably seen, and I can only assume that this probably wasn't maybe as obvious many years ago, but I've had some kind of similar, no, nowhere near as maybe eloquent experiences Anna's just explained, but like I've been maybe in a previous role where I was actively a software engineer. People kind of, particularly one person, he didn't assume I was a software engineer. There was assumption there that when I kind of came into a meeting, that I was, I think maybe something that was more associated to be female, like a project manager or someone that wasn't kind of in the depths of the code. But immediately after I kind of said, just FYI, this is my role, it was kind of not like, it wasn't, say, deflected and like feeling defensive or anything. It was immediate, like people seem to be more educated now, where they just completely clock in, accept that they've made a mistake, explained why it was a mistake, and that just their own biases, check themselves and immediately apologize, because they obviously are educated enough now to see how things like that build up and
Yeah.
eventually maybe doubt your own abilities as a person in that role. But I think I think people are doing a good job of really just expanding their knowledge, knowing the impact of their mistakes, but also I don't think they should be afraid to make mistakes either. I think it's great, because I think from this experience they were like, you know what, I need to maybe be more mindful of this going forward. And
Mhm.
yeah, I think that's probably the one point as well. I think it's practically the same as kind of what Anna highlighted as well.
And I think you're right, though. I think you're right. The conversation, not necessarily that the conversations are drastically different than they used to be, but I think you're right. I think the reactions are sometimes different than what we're used to seeing. I think you're right. It's not, we're not in the first 2 weeks of, I am a white American and I have never heard the word black used except for pejoratively. So I think it's wrong to call people black. And it's like, all right, well, we need to have a lot of conversations. There's like 18 that need to be had there. So strap in. I hope you brought snacks. But yeah, like it's the attitude of, well, that can't be right because I don't know it, versus, oh, I didn't know that. Okay, now I know that. Like, and that's really all it needs to be. Like, it seems very simple, but yeah, it's the attitude towards, oh, I got that wrong. Okay, great. How do I fix it? Not a, well, that's not what I didn't, that's not wrong. I didn't mean it wrong. Nope, doesn't matter. This is what it means now. So we keep moving. I like this a lot. All right. So one of the things that we wanted to talk about obviously was Qualtrics and how a lot of this kind of shows up within the culture there. How do you feel Qualtrics supports their women team members, with throughout the field? Are there any certain ways that you've seen this done at Qualtrics that have really stood out to you? Anna, do you want to start?
Yeah. So Qualtrics has the Women Leadership Development Program. So we have a few sessions every few months, just to like put a spotlight on different women that are leader in the company. We had specifically very recently a panel on the women in the services organization within Qualtrics, and it was very nice because you got to see girls that were just starting their careers in Qualtrics versus women that had been in the company for maybe like 6 or 7 years and were in very senior positions. So you got to see a little bit of everything. So that was very interesting to see like everyone's experience, books they were recommending, things that had helped them. And it's always nice to see, even when there are people from departments are not your own, like how they are faring, how they're progressing, and to see that you can be a woman and in leadership, which is what we are trying to achieve every day, like make sure that there are women in leadership positions that can represent and they're good at their job and they're amazing and that they get there because of their qualities.
I like that. Doireann, how about you? What have you seen in the way of Qualtrics really supporting women and your teammates?
Yeah, I guess like I'm kind of something's coming to mind similar to the topics that Anna has just highlighted, but basically something I remember is that during International Women's Day, I believe we had a few events on that week. And one thing I think we do particularly well, and it's kind of a kudos to the women that run the Women's Leadership Development Team, WLD, where they've made learning about it fun. So like we used to have, I think, I don't know, Anna, correct me if I'm wrong, but we had like a quiz one morning where we were eating our breakfast, and it was like really interactive where the questions were the topic of like how many women are in leadership positions, how like the representation, basically like questions about data, primarily focused on probably educating us, but also people got really competitive because that's that's people's nature where you're like, oh my God, I didn't know that was that metric. And it like it still sticks with you. And like, we have like, cupcakes or like cookies with it on it. So it's really, they do a good job of sending a message, but also keeping it light and fun and making it not always a heavy topic. And that's not just in WLD. Like there's a number of different societies that we have that would like focus on outside of women. It could be like people of different cultures, gender, etc. And I really like how we approach that. And again, I think it's just the sheer transparency of it all is always good to see.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like the idea of, making it something that's enjoyable. Learning through play is a much easier way to cement something in someone's memory. Things that we learn through fun or through enjoyment stick better. And so I very much appreciate this. And it really does kind of highlight that a lot of times these can be very serious topics, right? Like there's a lot of times where, considerations in the workplace could be the difference between not necessarily life and death, but somebody being hired or not, someone being fired or being kept. So, it really is important to these are very big issues for a lot of people. And it doesn't, the way to impress the bigness of those issues on people is not always to doom and gloom and, kind of highlight, here's all the negative things that are happening. They're still true, don't get me wrong, but the way to get some people is not that way. So I think that's wonderful. I very much like that it's not, it's helping the women members of the group, but it's not just for y'all. So I think that's great. I like that a lot. All right, let's talk about some of the groups or the benefits that Qualtrics has. You both have mentioned women, a women-focused ERG. Has there been a specific activity or anything that they've done that you really appreciated or saw as really successful? Let's see, Anna, do you want to touch on this one?
I'm not sure right now, honestly. Like besides like those like talks and promoting the groups and things like that, I can't really think right now. I don't know, Doireann, can you think of anything? Maybe I'm missing something.
We're probably retreading the same ground. I just want to make sure I'm not missing out on some section for you.
I'm just trying.
No worries.
I can't think of anything specific besides what we've mentioned so far. I don't know, like, I'm not sure.
Okay, no worries. Let's see. Okay, there were a couple people had questions about things like potential barriers or resistance to allyship efforts. And I think these conversations are interesting because, we can't control what other people do or say. We can kind of give them the best practices and how we'd like them to, interact with us, but you can't always make people do what you would like them to. Have there been times when y'all have had to address, kind of some of those barriers to allyship efforts? And if so, how did you handle that? Were you able to see somebody else have that conversation with a team member? Have you seen a point where people are resistant, I guess, to new ideas or to allyship? Anna, how about you?
I think like people can be resistant to new ideas when they don't benefit them. And like when they see that what they are doing or what the new policy wants to do on the allyship of the efforts they are doing, maybe they're not against what they think or what they are, but more like, if I'm you always try to progress in your career, you always try to progress yourself. So maybe you see that new policy doesn't benefit you, but technically like DI policies, allyship policies, they benefit everyone. they create more equality, they create more opportunities, because like if you're excluding part of the population for of something, you're also missing a part of the population's ideas and progress and benefits. So I think you can be not narrow-minded, but like more focused on yourself, which is fine. Like you want to be the best version of you, you want to improve yourself, you want to be better for yourself, but it's always good to try and look out of what you are and what benefits you, to see that a benefit for someone around you can also be on the long-term benefit for you. Anything, I think like seeing that on that point, seeing that like allyship, like supporting other groups underrepresented is a benefit to everyone around you and to yourself at the end, is a good thing.
Yeah, totally agree. Doireann, how do you feel about this?
Yeah, I guess I haven't like in theory witnessed maybe anyone blatantly refusing to be an ally or anything like that, but I do think particularly with maybe outside of women, thinking of all the underrepresented groups, I think there can be a lot of denial maybe that there is some work to be done. I think I've
Mhm.
seen that more often than not, where maybe people roll their eyes at the thought of there's being a session maybe on like women in tech, for example, or women in services, because they don't quite understand why that might be important for people.
Mhm.
Um, and I think in terms of like correcting it or approaching it, it's probably never out of a place, well, I'm sure occasionally it is out of a place of like malice or anything, but
Yeah.
I think it's probably always best to approach it with maybe someone's just not educated. They just haven't, it hasn't penetrated their bubble, and they
Yeah.
just not aware of it. And I think for me, all that you can probably do is maybe not react super defensively or aggressively, but maybe first initially approach it and just explaining why it's important to you or why it might be important to others. Hope that they eventually kind of understand. And I think that's probably where the ally role would come into play, is that like, say if I hear someone talking about an underrepresented group, maybe that I'm not a part of, but I know is equally important, where the person that's denying it might for some reason take my word for it because maybe I'm not a part of that underrepresented group. So I think that would be where I'd really hope allies kind of step up and highlight that something is actually very important, and that if they're not listening to someone else's voice because they think that they're trying to benefit themselves, that they're actively listening to other people who have really nothing to gain from this other than trying to be inclusive, and really hope that maybe that impacts change. But I guess all we can do is try.
No, I mean, I think you both make excellent points here. And, it really kind of comes down to, you don't know what you don't know until someone tells you. Okay, great. And yeah, there are definitely times where, yeah, people might be kind of snide or whatever, but I found a lot of the same kind of thing, is that people that sneer or kind of roll their eyes generally are people that either don't quite understand because they've never felt that way before, or they can't imagine treating someone like that. So they just don't think that anyone's going to treat anyone like that. And both mindsets, not necessarily they're bad, they're just problematic, and how you address them is different. But yeah, I think you're right. It really does kind of boil down to modeling that allyship behavior and showing why it should matter to that person. Whether it's making them see the similarities in other situations that they have struggled with, or even just highlighting like, hey, you don't have to worry about this. They currently do have to worry about this. So I get that it's not an issue for you, but it's still an issue for them. So it's still an issue, and we're all still going to talk about it. Yeah, I like that a lot. Um, all right, let's talk a little bit about some kind of like actionable strategies. If you are in a place that is maybe not being as uh vote like verbally or vocally progressive, inclusive, supportive, whatever, what do you recommend to people? Is this something where, small acts of tiny rebellion? Do you recommend people, lead the charge and start the ERGs? What would you suggest if somebody is interested in this and thinks it's needed, but there isn't really anything going on at their workplace that would support this? Doireann, how do you feel?
Yeah, I think if I was to maybe put myself in that person's shoes, it probably would be establishing some kind of groups, or even like I know we touched on it earlier, but like I said, the team meetings where it's like mostly business, but you can kind of accommodate some time for topics that are important to you. I think if you were to propose something like that, I think that would probably impact more change than you think. And I think once you kind of start those DEI conversations, for example, or like any kind of inclusivity topics, that hopefully maybe managers in your role, like in your team, might start picking up on it. They might want to kind of maybe pass it upwards. I think we found Anna in our team when we were kind of, because it actually was um I think a lot of the more junior team members were really interested in presenting on DEI. And at a certain point, I think the managers on our team kind of clocked it, and they were like, these junior team members are really good at like doing these DEI topics, but we need to get the more senior managers on our team to be also as focused on prioritizing this when they're having their team meeting. So that kind of little example kind of just saw that even like those little things can kind of, I guess, plant a seed in someone's brain, and they can try to affect change with other people. And that maybe even no matter your level, even if you're like the more junior team member, you can also be kind of like, I guess, someone that you can hope to become just like in terms of DEI. I think from the more senior perspective, but
I like that though. Like you make a good point, right? You don't have to be coming from a position of authority to have impact and influence.
yeah.
It can be just as much as, like you said, it could be just as much as raising your hand or speaking up and being like, hey, I think this is important.
Mhm.
And I mean, and you're right. A lot of times it'll carry a lot more weight with somewhat resisted people if it's coming from someone else that they give that credit to, I guess. Anna,
Mhm.
how do you feel about this?
No, I totally agree. At the beginning in our team, it was more split between juniors and seniors. When we put all the team together, uh, our manager, because we liked it and we actually enjoyed doing them, proposed to move the DEI sessions also for the senior team members. So it's not just now the more junior people doing them, but like everyone on the team is doing them when it's their turn, which is very interesting because also you can see like what are the priorities or the focus for other people, because at the end of the day, if you're going to make a presentation for a team that you have completely creative liberty over, you're going to choose something that is more on your like lane of like liking or like something like that. So it's nice to see what people, when they want to show the they want to focus on, like if they want to focus more on mental things, if they want to focus more on like race, religion, economy, justice, or everything. So it's always like nice to see. It's a good way also to know in your teammates, and like not the priorities, but what is on their radar,
Yes, very, very good point. Okay, in the last couple of minutes we have, I did want to bring the conversation a little bit back to Qualtrics. So I have two questions for y'all. They're kind of popcorn, so don't like overthink terribly on them. My first question is, what keeps you at Qualtrics? What's the thing that you're like, okay, I'm not going to find this at any other company? Maybe it's the Taco Tuesdays in the lunchroom, the ball pit in the summertime, maybe it's your great parking spot or your bestie at work. What is the thing that keeps you there? Anna, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I think for me, the culture of the company, like we get along so well. Like we have friends not only on our team, but like in so many different teams. We have lunch together. We have a pub in the office that we can go on Thursdays and Fridays, and then we go play pool and play darts, and we have like different conversations. We hang out on the weekends. We've made really, really good long life lasting friends. I think it's said. Like I think that if I'm imagining that I'm getting married and I have to invite to my wedding people, I can like a few of the people that I work with are like going to be first on my list. Like
Yeah.
it's people that I want, even if I leave Qualtrics at any point, like whatever, like I feel like the friendships that I've made here like are going to be for a really long time. And I don't know, like it's just you go to the office and you're happy to go here. Like you have good friends, your managers are like, at least in our teams, like they are very appreciative, they like you, they support you, they are going to do everything that they can to help you make sure that you're fine, that you're good, that you are happy in what you're doing. And I feel completely supported by my manager at any point, that if I want to do something different or if I have a bad day or something, that I can go and talk to him and things like that. Like I just feel comfortable and safe coming to work.
I love that. Doireann, how about you? What's the thing that keeps you at Qualtrics?
Yeah, I it's kind of hard not to say something very similar, but I know like the culture and the people would be the main thing. I always find that, and it's not always been the case in other jobs, but when work is tough, sometimes you imagine you're like, oh, I just want to hand in my notice and like get away from it all. Whereas like on the toughest day here, it's only natural to have those ideas, right? But then I'm like thinking of all the things that I might get to lose and all the friendships and the risk that I would be making, where I might go somewhere and I might not have as great leaders specifically on our team. Because as like Anna said, it's the people are very empathetic, which is something I think that's important to particularly a lot of us on our team, where, obviously we've got a goal, we need to get our jobs done, and we want to serve our customers as best we can, but ultimately we're people, and sometimes people have some situations, and they're very flexible and adaptable, and they will try to do both right by the customers who we're trying to help, but also equally we're important as well. And again, yeah, like I think seeing the leaders that we have currently in our team, we I would be really proud of myself if I kind of was eventually to end up something like that. And I think in some companies maybe you don't necessarily have the privilege of saying that.
Mhm. I like that. Okay. All right. My last question for each of you. Do you have a tip for anyone applying to Qualtrics? Is there something that they should know? Don't forget to mention Jerry, our mascot duck, in your interview. What is there something that you would tell your friend if they're like headed into an interview tomorrow? Doireann, you want to start?
Yeah, I mean, I think I remember when I was researching for my interview, we had like the tacos, I think. So it was like, it's a transparency, all in. I'm testing myself here. I'm exposing myself. See,
Customer upset.
customer obsessed. Um,
Yeah.
oh, oh,
Oh, is that customer obsessed again?
one
No.
one team and then scrappy. And I remember it was like we can spell tacos.
Somewhere there's an HR person like absolutely crying with joy that you remembered the thing they spent so long figuring out an acronym for. That's amazing. So thank you both. That was awesome. No, I like this though. Tacos. That's cool. I very
Yeah,
much
yeah.
Yeah, it's
You don't forget it sometimes. Sometimes you do though. But yeah, I think it's like we have like little nuggets like that. And I think one thing that um is just the interviewers are always really, really very nice. They always want to, like, I think they'd very rarely rush straight into business. They kind of want to get to know the people as well. Like, they want to put people at ease. So I think it's that, not to be nervous. People are human firstly, and they don't want you to fail or anything. It's quite wholesome, and um yeah, that and tacos.
awesome. Awesome. All right. Now, if anything that we have said today about Qualtrics has sparked your interest, I do really recommend you check out their company page on powertofly.com. As promised earlier, I do want to fill you in on a couple quick tips there. So if you think that you might be going into an interview with Qualtrics, I very much recommend you check out their company page. Look around on the about page. Take a look at, there'll be a bunch of like insider, ask meet the recruiter videos, blog posts, all kinds of stuff. So if you think you might be going into an interview with Qualtrics, I very much recommend that you check out Power to Fly, because it could give you something to talk about in your interview that is not, the latest Business Insider article that everyone has forwarded everybody like 400 times. Kind of sets you up and apart from, maybe the rest of the people there. The other thing that I want to highlight for y'all is the follow network. So I talked a little bit about this at the start of the event, but basically what you should know is every company page on powertofly.com has a big pink button that says plus follow at the top of every page. Now you can follow and unfollow a company as many times as you want, and you can follow as many companies at a time as you would like to as well. Obviously, I recommend you take a look at Qualtrics, not just for the reasons that we've talked about today. They're a fabulous company, but take a look there. See if there's something that interests you. Absolutely take a look. Now, if you're actively job hunting, but don't see anything right now that really like sparks your interest, make sure you tap that follow button. Okay. What this is going to do is basically going to act as though you have a friend who already works at Qualtrics. So hitting that follow button allows Power to Fly to tell Qualtrics that you're interested in working with them even before you fill out an application. So awesome, awesome option if you're actively seeking, but nothing seems perfect right now. The other thing it's going to do is allow Power to Fly to take some of the weight off of you in your job search. So if you hit follow, we are going to let you know when they post new roles. So that way you don't have to keep coming back and rechecking and basically memorizing job boards. Let us take some of that headache off of your shoulders there. So absolutely, I recommend that you take advantage of these resources from Power to Fly. They're free and we want all of you to have them. So I hope that y'all will take advantage of those. That's going to bring us to the end of time today, but I just want to say thank you both to Anna and Doireann. This has been wonderful to get to know each of you, learn from you about what your journeys have been like, and hear more about Qualtrics from behind the scenes. So thank you both. I really hope we get a chance to do this again.
Thank you so much.
All right, big thank you goes out to our audience members as well. You all just took 60 minutes out of your day to do something positive for yourself and your career. That is not easy in this day and age. I don't care if you're not a little treat person. I am. So just listen to Meg, give yourself a cookie or a gold star or a pat on the back, whatever it is. Because truly, it's not easy to do something positive for yourself. So thank you so much for joining us. Now, if this was your first Power to Fly event, I sincerely hope it will not be your last. And if you're one of our frequent flyers, we cannot wait to see you on an upcoming event soon. Go out and have the day that y'all deserve, and we can't wait to see you back here for another event in the future. Bye.